Thank you, Mariella, and hello to everybody. So as the head of the A2ii, I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to welcome you to today's call. The II Lab is one of our most popular and actually one of our most exciting capacity building tools. And it's great actually to have the opportunity to tell you a bit more about it today. So more specifically, I mean, I hope that those of you listening in actually find inspiration from the examples that we share, and also that the ideas help inspire you to adopt some innovative approaches and partnerships for market development. In a moment, my colleagues and the country teams will tell you more about the II Lab, and particularly the lab that just concluded last year. However, I just wanted to mention two things that I like most actually about the II Lab. The first of these is that it's really led by the country teams. It's not an exercise where you have Western experts going into countries and telling them what they need to do. It really does sort of make use of the expertise within countries and relies on them to sort of come up with the ideas and the innovations that form part of the project. The second thing, I mean, I really like about the lab is that actually it involves the complete insurance ecosystem. I think having good regulation and supervision is fundamental for an insurance market to be able to grow. However, if there's no appetite in the market for people to buy insurance or sell insurance, it's useless. So I feel the lab really takes advantage and leverages really off the role that insurance supervisors play in convening and bringing together the insurance ecosystem in their country. And with those sort of short welcoming remarks, I think I maybe hand straight over to my close colleague, Manuela from the IAIS.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hannah. And I can only support what you have just said. So the III Lab, I always call it the Triple I Lab, is really a very exciting project. And I think in particular, the focus on peer exchange is, it's really key. Yeah, you learn from one another, you get inspired, you get cross-fertilized, and you go ahead and share also your success stories. So I'm very happy to welcome you also here on behalf of the International Association of Insurance Supervisors to this public dialogue today. So I'm super glad to see the broad diversity of attendees and the high number of attendees. So there is a lot of interest of what the insurance lab colleagues and teams have come up with. And the focus is on how to raise insurance awareness for market development. And for us, the question was, how can we best develop insurance markets worldwide in a way that is aligned with our insurance core principles and the Sustainable Development Goals, so the ICPs and the SDGs. So this is a key question for our members. And as many of you can confirm, the answer to this question is not easy. What we really need is innovation. Yeah, and we need innovation to develop insurance market. And we in particular need innovations in new ways of thinking, new ways of doing business, new customers to be reached, and new partnerships to be formed. And in the past years, the IAIS has also acknowledged that as insurance supervisors, we need to step up our collaboration with other stakeholders in the insurance market to build up, drive, and maintain innovations. I was already referring to a cross-fertilizing and enabling environment, and this environment was created by the A2ii with the Innovative Inclusive Insurance Innovation Lab, the Triple I Lab. It's easier to pronounce, I must admit. So bringing insurance supervisors and key market players together in a structured innovation process, this is the goal, how the lab tries and aims to develop insurance market to achieve innovative, sustainable, and impactful services, products, approaches for vulnerable populations. So a huge congratulations from my side to the team of the second Triple I Lab project for all the fantastic ideas, the creative solutions, the impactful campaigns to raise awareness. And we are really looking forward to hear today and to share, to listen to the experiences that you will share with us And wishing you good luck, lots of success, bonne chance, and also buena suerte y mucho éxito for the implementation of your ideas. With this, I think, excuse me.
I guess you wanted to hand over to Anouk, which was a great idea. Thank you, Manuela, for your warm welcome words. And Anouk, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I also would like to say welcome to everyone. I work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands. And I focus a lot on inclusive insurance in my role. But I'm not an expert like most of you. So for me, it's very nice to be here today. And because I've been actively involved with the Access to Insurance initiative for a few years now, and I'm very passionate about what A2ii is doing, especially as already mentioned by Hannah and Manuela, the peer-to-peer approach where supervisors help supervisors improving the regulation so that insurances or insurance companies are able to build more inclusive products so that everyone has access to insurance. And the peer-to-peer approach, I think, is very unique. And that's why we are a big supporter of the Inclusive Insurance Innovation Lab, because you have this very nice exchange in very small but very dedicated groups to come up with very innovative ways of working. And I also want to mention that I'm very much aware of how challenging the years have been that you've been doing this, because I think when you started, it was at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So where you were supposed to meet in person a few times a year, you all had to do it in a digital way. So compliments how you've been doing it up until now. And I'm very curious about the lessons that you learned. So I want to learn today from you, actually. So thank you and welcome again.
Thank you so much, Anouk. So let's hope that we can, fulfill all the expectations. Thank you for your welcome words. And let us move to the next slide, please. We have the call structured in 3 parts. First, we will give you a brief introduction to the lab methodology. This will be done by my colleague Teresa, followed then by a presentation of prototypes by the different teams. And lastly, we will have a discussion among the supervisors who were the team leaders in the program. So with this, I would like to move to the next slide, please, and hand over to Teresa.
Thank you, Mariella. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. As Mariella already said, my name is Teresa Pelanda, and I was part of the Lab 2 project management team and also working more closely with the teams from Argentina and Morocco. So before we actually hear from the team members themselves, I would like to start off with just a brief description of the lab, the program, the process, and a little bit about the methodology that was applied. So if we could go to the slide on the rationale, I think that's, if you could go back, excellent, thank you. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what was actually the objective back in 2017 to develop a completely new format called the Inclusive Insurance Innovation Lab. So as you all know, at the A2ii, we work with insurance supervisors worldwide on inclusive insurance topics. And in our work, we see that more and more supervisors have a specific mandate for market development. And we also see that this is a challenge for many supervisors, especially when it comes to inclusive insurance market development. I guess most people, supervisors, practitioners would agree that adapting regulations alone is not enough to really increase the availability of inclusive insurance products in the market and at the same time also improve the access to these products. So we believe that in addition to a good regulatory environment, what's key is, as Manuela already mentioned, to drive innovation, to adopt innovative approaches. And to make innovations happen, there is a great need for new partnerships. Or as the IIS also emphasizes in a paper on fintech, that collaboration with other stakeholders needs to be stepped up to build up and maintain an adequate understanding of innovation. So to address this challenge, back in 2017, A2ii and the GIZ Global Leadership Academy, together with RIO's partners, developed this unique 12-month leadership and innovation program. The so-called Inclusive Insurance Innovation Lab addresses systemic issues of the sector. It promotes dialogue, builds innovative solutions, and inspires participants to really take action. So the objective of this lab is to enable change on a personal, an organizational, and also on a systemic level. So let's go to the next slide, please, and let's have a look at what that means in practice. How does that work? So as I mentioned, the lab is a between 12 and 18 months global multi-local program where 4 country teams come together to develop and implement innovations that advance inclusive insurance in their country. And a fundamental assumption of the labs is that the challenge the lab addresses is something that cannot be tackled by just one stakeholder alone, but that it needs the collective experience and the diverse perspective. What I just wanted to mention here as well, and maybe we can go back to the slide on methodology, is that what we do here, so the whole process of the lab is about developing also lasting networks across the participating countries on which they can be drawn on even after the lab process has come to an end. So the entire process is designed to promote leadership, innovation skills, and the ability of participants to initiate multi-stakeholder collaborations and to become, really advocates on inclusive insurance topics. So can we go to the next slide, please? The one with the, I'm still seeing the YouTube. Maybe we can go to the slide which has the A2ii lab map. I think it's the next slide. Yeah, exactly that one. So I just wanted to show you with this slide, which are the countries that have already gone through this process or are going through it right now. So we are currently in the middle of Lab 3, but all started with the launch of Lab 1 in 2017. And the participating countries here were Albania, Ghana, Kenya, and Mongolia. So then in November last year, we concluded Lab 2, and in a couple of minutes, you will meet a couple of representatives from the country teams from Argentina, India, Morocco, and Rwanda, which were the participating countries in the second round of Lab. And then in October last year, we launched the third lab, and this was the first, or is the first thematic lab. So at the moment, Costa Rica, Grenada, Zambia, and Zimbabwe are working on developing solutions to increase resilience of the most vulnerable against climate risks. So let's go to the next slide. And let me come back to Lab 2, which, as mentioned, kicked off in March 2020 and involved in total 49 stakeholders from the 4 countries I just mentioned. And while in the first lab, all workshops, both on national and international level, were held as in-person meetings, when we started Lab 2, we found ourselves in the middle of a pandemic. It actually just started when we kicked off the process, and COVID-19 brought the world, as we all know, to a standstill. So we had to reformat the A2ii lab, which was initially envisaged as an 18-month program of in total 15 in-person workshops. So we had planned for 3 workshops in each country plus 3 international meetings. And we converted everything into a fully virtual program. So our challenge at this point was really to find ways to change the medium, but at the same time make sure that the content is delivered, that we are still working in agile ways, and also somehow make sure that the relationships among the participants can be built, which is definitely a challenge in an online format. So what does that mean? We had 2 country teams, Morocco and India. They were the lucky ones who were still able to meet at least for the first national workshop in person, but all other sessions were held online, and in total we organized 76 online sessions. The high number is also because we split these 3-day in-person events into several shorter online sessions spread over several weeks, because we also realized that more than 2.5 hours it's just not productive for these online meetings. So we created new ways of working online with multi-stakeholder teams. We had to adapt the timelines. We had to also sometimes, overcome connectivity challenges at the different time zones. And what probably best describes these meetings is that we were all juggling multiple open tabs on different platforms, tools, messaging, social apps, to make these sessions really as interactive as possible. So, however, and despite the impact the pandemic really had on both the professional and personal lives of participants, we are really proud and happy that the teams managed to work together over a period of 1.5 years and to come up with 7 really interesting prototypes, about which we will also hear in a moment. So let's just go to the next slide. I have just 2 slides for you to give you an impression of how this new lab reality look like. So many online sessions. You can also see here that we worked a lot with online tools like online whiteboards. You all see these little post-its to make the sessions really interactive and to allow participants, to brainstorm, share ideas, have these post-its, put them in real time to really work together in these sessions. And then the 2 pictures you see from the in-person events, these were the first national workshops that took place in person still in Morocco and India. And then going to the next slide, please. Oh, that was already the end of my presentation. So I don't know if we still have time or if the video is working. Yeah, okay, excellent. Then let's maybe hear from Rachel and Janis a little bit more about the methodology that was applied in the lab.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yanis Christoslomidis, and I'm from an organization called Rios Partners, and I'm based in London. And I have with me
Rachel Jones. I am also with Rios Partners based in Johannesburg, and Yanis and I have been the technical experts for the Inclusive Insurance Innovation Lab. And we're here to tell you today a little more about Rios Partners and the Social Labs methodology. Over to you, Yanis.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. So the Social Labs methodology is one of the 2 methodologies that Rios is well known for. Rios Partners is a global social enterprise. It's global but small, and we work across the world on 7 areas, mainly on social and economic inclusion, energy and climate, education, health, peace, natural resources, land and food, and sustainable development. And a social lab starts with a complex social challenge, and it's a methodology that really works when these 3 conditions are in place. First and foremost, not one actor by themselves can solve the problem in hand. If you can't solve the problem on your own, you don't need a social lab to solve the challenge. The second condition is that the future is undetermined and unfamiliar. That means that all the solutions do not longer work here. And the third condition that we look for when applying the methodology is that cause and effect are far apart in time and space. So there's an element of dynamic complexity in the system that you cannot really resolve in a linear way. So when those 3 conditions are in place, then we apply social labs principles. And so Rachel, over to you.
So the principles based on the conditions that Yanis shared, when he spoke about no actor can solve the problem, the response or the principle that's applied is a collaborative effort. So you're getting all the stakeholders together that need to solve that challenge, including those and especially those that are affected. So in the labs that we've been doing, we have the regulator, civil society, private sector players all working together on how to make insurance more inclusive. We approach it with a systemic lens, so not just looking at sort of this is the event on the surface, like people don't know about insurance. It's really asking the deeper questions of what lies beneath the surface and then coming up with responses to that. And also that we work in an emergent and experimental way. No one has the silver bullet for some of these challenges, and the industry has been trying to deal with them for many years. And so we try this experimental approach where the future's unknown and we need to experiment a way forward. So back to you, Yannis, to tell everyone about other labs that we've run.
So as I said, this methodology really applies when these conditions are in place, and it's not just insurance, but there are many other contexts that these three conditions apply. We've worked with this methodology for violence against women, in contexts like illegality and equality, oceans, climate change, fashion, financial aid, and regional development in many places around the world. And with that, we wish you a really great session, and thanks for listening to us.
Okay, great. Thanks. So I think this gives a good introduction to really the social labs methodology. And we have Rachel and Yannis also here with us on the call. So just in case you have any questions on the social labs methodology, I'm sure they would be happy to also answer to your questions in the chat box. And I think it's now the time to make this all even a little bit more concrete and really hear from the team members now about the prototypes, the solutions they developed in this second A2ii lab. Over to you, Mariela.
Thank you, Teresa. Could we have the slides shown in the screen share again, please? So I would like to remind you of the translation services that we have, because in the prototype presentations, we will also have some Spanish presentations. So if you are not a Spanish speaker, this is the time to open the tab, the Interactio tab, or download the application and enter the event code A2ii-IAIS. Thank you. Next slide, please. So several prototypes were developed during the lab. So I guess that this is the main focus when we think about, what kind of results that we have. It's the most visible results. So let us start with these results. So we will have the 4 teams present, 5 prototypes in total. We will have different awareness raising campaigns on social media for Argentina, radio and TV for Rwanda, mobile for India, and 2 more like product related developments, one combi product in India and a digital health insurance one in Morocco. Let us move to the next slide, please. As you can imagine, this is a program, 4 countries with more than 10 people per team. So we have many speakers today, which really reflects the diversity of the lab. We will have Analia Ayala and Belen Gomez from Argentina, who work for the Sancor Seguros and Rio Uruguay Seguros, respectively. We will have 4 representatives from the India team. As I told you before, it's 2 different subgroups. We will have Amitabh Chanda from Salazar Services Insurance Brokers, Shalini Kakar from State Bank of India, Renu Agnihotri from LIC of India, and Deepak Kinga from ICICI Prudential. Sorry for the slide. And from Morocco, we will have Salma Berada, and from the regulatory authority there, and Emi Rugamba from Rwanda, from the National Bank of Rwanda. So a special thank you to Emmy, who's stepping in for Moise, who was called away at the last minute for an urgency, but I'm sure that you will be able to step in smoothly, as we know you usually do. So let us move to the next slide, and I think number 1 is actually Emmy. So this is a little screenshot that we took during one of the Rwanda team calls, and I list you the team members on the left-hand side, which I leave you to read. And I would like to invite Emmy to present the slides that were prepared. And please, Laura, move to the next slide, please. And we're very happy to have you, Emmy. And let us hear whether your microphone works well.
Yeah, thank you, Mariela. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I greet everyone on the call. This is Rugamba Emmy. I'm Senior Inspector Insurance and Pension from National Bank of Rwanda. And of course, I will present on behalf of Rwanda. On behalf of Moise, Moise got a serious problem, so he couldn't make it, but I'm here to present on behalf of Rwanda. So just to be brief and make sure that we use our time, our prototype was about insurance awareness through competitions. The Rwanda's team, in the start of lab process, we started identifying the problem on the ground here in Rwanda. And of course, one of the 2 issues that we identified was lack of the awareness amongst the population, especially youth and low income earners. And of course, we came up with 2 suggestions that we should do awareness through competition. Of course, targeting you can go to the next slide. Yeah, targeting the youth and low income earners. So one of the methodology to do that was to use most popular communication channels. That was radio, TV, and social media nowadays. And of course, we are happy that we tested one of these channels. That was radio. We conducted 3 successful radio shows, and we got a very pleasing feedback. And this was targeting low-income earners, where we went on the radio, and we could, prepare some insurance content, and of course, people called in the studio. They were, answering some questions, and for the winners, we could pay them some prizes, including cash prizes. We have a long-term savings scheme here in Rwanda called the Ejo Heza. We could, of course, offer them some subscription to the scheme, and that was very pleasing. Then on the side of youth, unfortunately, we did not test, but going forward in our plans, we are planning to have some university competitions where they will be writing an essays on how we can improve the insurance products, because one of the another challenge we have is that we have insurance products that do not meet the customer needs. And this is because while designing those products, they don't engage these groups, either low-income earners and youth. So most of them, they find it not affordable to them, simply because they are targeting some other people. So we want to engage these people, young people, on how they can insure us, service providers, how they can design products that really satisfy their needs, and of course they can be able to buy them and be included in insurance. So our plan going forward now, we want to put this on a large scale. During the lab process, we are just testing and see if it can work. But one of the tests we did, especially on low-income earners through radio competitions, we got a very good feedback that sparked us to put it on a large scale. Now we are working with all insurance stakeholders. We want to be inclusive starting from the supply side. We put all stakeholders together, and then we roll out the program, awareness program, that everyone will get involved, and of course reaching everyone that is targeted, either low income earners and youth. So I think briefly that it was about our prototype, and of course we are looking forward to discuss more ideas in this discussion. Whether you have comments or whether you have any clarification needs, we are here to answer that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Emmy. I think this gives a comprehensive overview of the different awareness campaigns that you designed and already experimented with. I am wondering, do we have any questions in the chat box so far? No. Okay, then I would like to know, Emmy, what do you think is, what was the most difficult aspect in these awareness campaigns? So what do you think was the most difficult part that you had to overcome as a team to design these programs?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Mariela. I think unfortunately we started this process amidst COVID-19, and one of the challenges we met as a team was movement restrictions. We did this with very restrictions. So we wanted initially. Sorry. Yeah, I was saying we wanted initially to meet people, of course, in person. We talk to them, we tell more about this process, how is it going to help them. So, but we couldn't do that. So we had to switch to radio, to social media. So I can say that the most challenge we met is how to meet with the target group so that we can disseminate the information we have.
Thank you, Emmy. And I think this is a common challenge that everyone faced and solved in a different way. But from what you've just shared, the radio was a good way to reach higher number of people. Thank you so much. And if anyone in the audience has any questions to Emmy, don't hesitate to post them in the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer them either in writing or with the microphone switched on later on. Thank you so much, Emmy. Let us move to the next prototype, which is, if I'm not mistaken, from the India team. So here you have a group picture of the India team who was able to meet right before the restrictions around the pandemic kicked in. You have the list of team members on the right-hand side. And without further ado, I would like to invite Shalini Kakkar from State Bank of India to present the slide on the first India prototype, please. Next slide, please. And Shalini, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mariela. Good evening to everybody from India, to all the group members across the countries, the moderators and the regulators. I'm Shalini, representing Team 1 from India for the A2ii Lab, formed for inclusive insurance. The lab members comprised of members from the insurance industry, the distributing channels, the banks, etc., and the insurance regulators. The members did a brainstorming session about the insurance awareness prevalent in the country, where it was found that the awareness level was very low, especially in the low and marginal income group of the population. With India having a population of 1.38 billion population, it was a challenge to reach the masses and increase the insurance awareness. The idea of reaching out to the masses through mobile phones was very well adapted at the onset of COVID-19, where the government started promoting COVID hygiene and the importance of vaccination through the caller tunes. This was very well taken by the masses, even in the interior and the rural part of the countries. The group did this brainstorming session and decided to adopt similar caller tunes for playing insurance utility messages in vernacular languages. Because India, we have different languages which has been adopted in various regions. So it was important to have acceptability in regional languages. The thought of vernacular language came up. A prototype was tested on a small group at local level for the low and marginal income sector. We thought about some questions which we will raise to these people about insurance awareness and seek feedback from them, whether they were able to understand what we were talking about, the insurance industry, and the feedback was very encouraging, as the insurance awareness among this particular sector of the group was very low. The A2ii lab group further wanted to extend it to a larger sample size and also to later on publicize this particular journey to be brought in insurance journals, which are very well accepted by the regulators, by the insurance industry as well. The regulators have also been part of this journey in the A2ii lab and have provided all the necessary guidance and have assured us that it will be taken forward as a prototype for further implementation. In the subsequent slide, I would like to show how the group members have done their recording, myself, Deepak and Renu, who have presented the journey of the prototype as a hero's journey, where the hero is the concept of insurance and the journey is to travel across the masses. May I request you to play the video in the next slide showing the hero's journey? Can we move to the next slide, please?
Yes, thank you very much for this, Shalini. I will now take control of this slide, or let us just check, because this is a different technology. Maybe we can just check if it works on your end.
There's a lower button in this particular slide itself, which will say play.
Exactly, or by just moving.
On the left-hand side, yeah. On the left-hand side of the screen, yeah.
So I think I'll just share it because I have it in my file.
Yes.
Okay, here, share. I should have the sharing rights. I hope you can. I'll see. Can you see my the video here? Or are you in the
There's
PowerPoint?
an icon in this particular slide. Yeah.
Yeah. Problem is a problem we had with embedding videos after you handed it in. So it's not the problem is not on your end, it's on our end. So sorry for this. And this is the video now here.
Hello everyone. In India, we are in the week of the biggest festival for the year called Diwali, the Festival of Lights. Through this lab, our focus was to look at a prototype which will help bring light into the lives of poorer sections of society. India has the second largest population in the world and has a low insurance penetration. My name is Deepak. The hero here is the concept of insurance. The hero's journey is to travel across and reach to the masses. We looked at insights for this purpose to look at areas which will help in identifying and reaching out to the masses at scale. I'll request Shalini to take this ahead.
Thank you, Deepak ji, for the introduction. First, the insight being to reach the scale quickly. We identified that mobile telephone was an app medium that provided the scale. India has the second largest telecom market worldwide with 1.17 billion subscribers, with an average of 3 billion phone calls per day. Second requirement being that the idea should not require any active participation. The lab journey coincided with COVID and the launch of government's mandated COVID awareness caller tunes, which were very successful. This has eventually led to administering 1 billion COVID-19 vaccine doses in India. I will request my teammate Renu ji to speak about our prototype and conclude.
Hello, thanks Shalini ji. The prototype we came up was to use the caller tunes for sending 30 seconds message, that is insurance Zaruri Hai. We tested it on a pilot basis. The language used was Hindi, and the results were encouraging. We found that the people were listening to it, and we were able to capture the mind share. We tried to test the prototype on a larger scale with the help of telecom companies, but given the time constraints, we were unable to do it. So we have compiled our journey in the form of a note, which is to be put up in the insurance journal by the regulator. We thank all of those who have helped us in completing this journey. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, India team. At least the first sub-team of the India team. Are there any questions on this prototype? So if there are no questions in the chat box yet, I would just like to make sure, you mentioned the publication in the insurance journey. Is it available yet, or is it yet to come?
It is yet to come. Basically, we are still working on that in completion, but it is yet to come.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll make sure to make it available once it's made public, because I think there's a lot of lessons to learn for anyone who's interested, especially the fact that you can reach also high number of people also in remote areas makes it a very interesting project. As I don't see any other questions in the chat box, thank you very much. And I would like to continue with the next sub-team, please. So this is Argentina, because we're still focusing on awareness raising. So this is just a tiny part of the Argentina team. So the team is much bigger, as you can also infer from the team members list on the right-hand side. The prototype is focusing on raising awareness on insurance through social media. And with that, I would like to hand over to Belén Gómez from Rio Uruguay Seguros and Analia Ayala from Sancor Seguros, please. And next slide, please.
Buenos días a todas las personas que nos acompañan. Nosotras éramos quienes íbamos a hablar en español. ¿Por qué hablar en español? Porque queremos transmitir lo que sentimos. No queremos que esta presentación sea una charla magistral. Queremos que puedan sentir nuestras emociones y poder contarles no una teoría, sino una práctica concreta que vivimos. En ese sentido, en primer lugar, ¿por qué elegimos el colectivo? Bueno, esto siempre pasa, hay a veces algún ruido, esta es la virtualidad. Queremos en primer lugar, decía, contarles por qué elegimos el colectivo o el segmento de población que hemos escogido para trabajar. En nuestro caso se trata de, dentro de las mujeres, a las empleadas domésticas. ¿Por qué empleadas domésticas en Argentina? Estamos en un país que tiene más de un 40% de pobreza y un 60% si hablamos de menores entre 0 y 14 años. De esta población, el 70% de quienes reciben menores ingresos en el país somos precisamente las mujeres. ¿Cuál es el principal trabajo de las mujeres en el país? El empleo doméstico. Un empleo doméstico que hoy está dando trabajo a aproximadamente 1.500.000 personas, de las cuales el 95% son mujeres. Es una actividad económica feminizada, ¿sí? Pero un 70% de estas trabajadoras lo hacen en el marco de una informalidad. No están registradas, no tienen los beneficios y no pueden acceder a los derechos de protección porque su trabajo no está registrado en ninguna parte. Pero además fue el rubro o fue la actividad económica que más sufrió la embestida de la pandemia. Durante los años 2020 y 2021, 200.000 mujeres perdieron sus trabajos como empleadas domésticas. Esa es la razón por la que escogimos este segmento en un equipo maravilloso de diferentes aseguradoras liderados de una manera única, de una manera increíble, por nuestro ente regulador, pero también por un equipo maravilloso. Y aquí simplemente un minuto para decir que ahora va a hablar Analía, que va a contar de qué se trata nuestro primer prototipo, que verán por lo que escucharon de nuestros colegas de otros países, que si hay algo que compartimos es la necesidad de fortalecer una cultura aseguradora. Pero quiero decir que Analía es mi amiga. Analía trabaja en otra empresa aseguradora, en una gran y prestigiosa empresa aseguradora de Argentina.
En otra empresa aseguradora.
Ahí escucho
En una gran y prestigiosa.
Es mi amiga, y esto nos enseñó Yanis, nos enseñaron Rachel, Regina, Teresa, Mariela, y especialmente Yanis, clase a clase. Como lo dijo recién en su video, un laboratorio de innovación social requiere de un trabajo en equipo. Nosotros no sabíamos trabajar así, no sabíamos trabajar o diseñar un producto pensando primero en la necesidad que tiene aquel destinatario al que estamos elaborando el producto. Pensábamos un producto desde la comodidad del escritorio. Repito, Analía trabaja en otra empresa, pero es mi amiga. ¿Por qué? Porque el camino que nos enseñaron y del que estamos convencidas es que podemos cambiar un mundo o podemos mejorar la calidad de vida de las personas a través del seguro, pero si trabajamos de manera colaborativa. Analía, adelante, un placer trabajar con vos.
Gracias, Belén, por la presentación. Primero les puedo pedir si pueden silenciar, porque ahí estaba escuchando a Belén.
Estamos convencidas.
Hay un poco de delay, me parece. ¿Puede ser?
Es que podemos cambiar un mundo.
Todavía te estoy escuchando con eco. ¿Puede ser, Belén? ¿Me escucho?
Sorry, I'm just trying to find out where the echo is coming from, because on my end it looks like we have muted everyone. So if you haven't muted yourself, please do it now, because there's an echo that makes it difficult to speak.
Sí.
Sorry for this, and please go ahead.
No worry. Thank you. Thank you, Mariela. Bueno, un placer, como decía Belén, estar reuniéndonos en este espacio para conocer cómo estamos avanzando cada uno de los países en los prototipos que elaboramos como resultado de nuestra participación en el laboratorio. Así que bueno, muchísimas gracias por seguir facilitando estos encuentros. Como decía Belu, primero, a manera de recordatorio, nosotros como equipo argentino elaboramos 2 prototipos. Acá lo que les estamos presentando, lo que pueden ver en pantalla, es el primero de ellos. Cuando nosotros empezamos cada uno de los encuentros con Yanis, al momento de pensar cómo podíamos elaborar soluciones de productos de seguros inclusivos a segmentos desatendidos, una dificultad que se nos presentó era como un paso previo a eso, ¿no? Esto de que somos un país que, como el resto de los equipos que compartimos el laboratorio, tenemos muchísima falta de conciencia aseguradora. Entonces, creímos que ese era el comienzo del camino, empezar por idear, por crear alguna solución para justamente aumentar esa conciencia aseguradora en nuestro país. Obviamente el desafío estaba en que fuera innovador, en que causara impacto y sobre todo en un contexto de pandemia, ¿no? Entonces ahí fue que entre todo el equipo coincidimos en aprovechar el poder de las redes sociales. Quizás no fuimos tan creativos, pero aprovechar el poder de las redes sociales para poder llegar a las personas, justamente teniendo en cuenta estos desafíos, y crear una cuenta sobre conciencia aseguradora que además no había, por lo menos los que estábamos ahí participando, no conocíamos o no pensábamos que hubiera algo que fuera, o que tuviera, mejor dicho, impacto, ¿no? Impacto en las personas. Fue así, bueno, que acá les presentamos, empezamos en este momento a trabajar con una agencia, elaborando todo lo que sería el contenido de esa red social, y lo que queremos abarcar, bueno, lo que estamos trabajando justamente ahora es en ese contenido, que lo tenemos casi en un 80%, podríamos decir, avanzado, y empezar contando qué es un seguro, ¿no? Cómo nace, un poco de historia, un poco contar ese espíritu cooperativo que nos caracteriza y que hace también un poco a la bondad del seguro. Para ahí después ir metiéndonos en qué tipos de seguros existen, ¿no? Pero ahí el desafío, cómo contamos esto, ¿no? De una forma que no sea técnica, de una forma que sea con ejemplos de la vida cotidiana, con situaciones de la vida cotidiana, con imágenes que no sean tan aspiracionales, porque en general en las publicidades de los seguros suelen haber como la foto típica de la familia o de una familia tipo, o una foto de una casa ideal. Entonces nosotros lo que queremos mostrar es personas reales, diversidad, familias de todo tipo, que todas las personas se puedan sentir identificadas, porque creemos que el poder de una imagen es muy grande, ¿no? Y puede llegar también. Y mostrar a través de esto cómo a través de un seguro se puede mejorar la calidad de vida de las personas. Por eso en un principio nosotros, el target es general, es llegar a todas las personas, en general, para después sí ir viendo un poco cómo es ese intercambio que vamos a ir teniendo con las personas, que eso lo vamos a saber una vez que esto ya esté lanzado, ver de ir metiéndonos con determinados segmentos, ¿no? Ir apuntando ya con mensajes o con información a determinados segmentos. En paralelo, también vamos a desarrollar una landing page para que el caso de las personas quieran sí tener más información, puedan ir y obtenerla de ese lugar. Una cosa más es que nosotros vamos a estar lanzando esta cuenta el mes que viene, en marzo, ya termino, y ¿cómo lo vamos a hacer? Bueno, como decía Yanis, esto de que si bien somos un equipo, y me parece que eso es lo más rico y creo que fue como la primera vez que nos estamos uniendo varias aseguradoras, lo cual le da muchísimo más fuerza, llegar a nuestro objetivo. Uno de los aliados, creemos que principales de las compañías aseguradoras son los y las productoras de asesores de seguro. Entonces, vamos a contar con ellos y con ellas también para poder apalancar, para poder potenciar esta red social, ya que ellos son los que tienen contacto con los clientes, ¿no? Entonces, esto va a ser un gran canal de información, pero un gran canal de información, digamos que lo que buscamos es que sea entretenido, ¿no? Que sea con un lenguaje práctico. Así que bueno, creo que eso es todo, y que no me olvido de nada, y cualquier cosa, estamos acá para las consultas.
Thank you so much, Belen and Analia. I think that was very clear. I just want to congratulate the Argentina team for making the step to institutionalizing the results of the lab. So as you rightly said, this is a cross company effort, and you're continuing with the work even after the program ended. So this is something that we are very excited about as well. As I don't see any questions in the chat box right now, I would like to quickly move on to the next team. Thank you so much, Belen and Analia. And if if people have questions, I will direct them to you afterwards as well. I can see that something came into my chat box right now. So I will direct it to you. Thank you so much. So let us move to Morocco now. Morocco, as India, was able to meet in March. So this is where this lovely team picture was taken. The prototype is focusing on digital health insurance, and I will let Salma Berada from ACAS, the regulatory authority, present this prototype. So Salma, the floor is yours. And let us move to the next slide, please.
Thank you very much, Mariola. So as you said, Salma Berada, I'm project manager for the chairman in the Moroccan insurance regulator. I was in charge of the animation of the Moroccan team during all the process, and it was a real pleasure to do this along all the process. So today I will tell you about our prototype. What we need to know before I will tell you about the prototype is some just elements of context very quickly. So in Morocco, you have to know that the insurance distribution model is mainly physical, and it is centered on compulsory, mandatory insurance. In particular, it's focused on car insurance and products that are designed for medium and large companies. So the distribution channel is mainly focused about this kind of products and this kind of customers. But this strategy in Morocco is beginning to reach its limits, because over the past years, we have observed a decline in the sector's profitability rates. So the turnover of the sector is growing, but profitability is declining. And with the project of generalization of the social security that is coming soon in Morocco, and that was launched by our king, it's companies and insurance companies, they risk losing some of their important corporate customers, because those corporate customers will be obliged to take social security instead of private insurance. So we think the team thought that it is time to change this strategy. It is time for the insurance sector to diversify their insurance products and to open up to new types of customers, new types of clients. And in the context of the lab, so we thought about how to do this, how to bring a solution that helps the sector to open up to new clients and to diversify their insurance products to encourage inclusive insurance. So we thought about Psahtek. Psahtek is an insurance solution, an innovative solution that brings a unique customer experience for the benefit of the insurance industry. We observed that digital offers important possibilities in Morocco, because we have more than 90% of Moroccans that use WhatsApp, for example, to communicate, even illiterate people. And we observed also that health is the priority for everyone here in Morocco, especially after going through the COVID-19 crisis. And for Moroccans, buying insurance is buying a promise. And most Moroccans are not ready to invest a lot for a promise. But if they are paying for something concrete that brings them real value in their daily life, maybe they will be able to pay something in order to taste insurance. So we thought about this solution that's called Psahtek, which means literally, may it bring you health. Psahtek, it's an expression, an Arabic expression that means literally, may this bring you health. And there is also the tech, so we added tech like technology, so Psahtek. So this is what it means literally. So this solution answers the questions, all the questions, because it's about a 100% digital interface on WhatsApp. It gives the possibility for the insurance company to be as close as possible to the consumers
and to better serve them and know them. It has useful health services because it offers a large number of services, like identifying the closest pharmacy, like identifying the prices of doctors, etc. So it brings a real added value for the consumers in their daily life. And also it's a way to foretaste insurance. It's a way to give a foretaste of microinsurance to those people. And also what is very innovative in this solution is that all of this is financed by indirect revenues. What it means is that it is financed by loyalty programs, loyalty points of merchants companies like supermarkets, etc. So I won't say much more about this solution. I will just ask Mariela to share the video of the solution, which shows a little bit how it works concretely.
Thank you, Salma. And here goes the video.
Unfortunately, the video is in French, but if there's any question, I can give some more explanation in English about how the different steps of the use of this product is done.
Thank you so much, Salma. And I think that I don't see any questions in the chat box right now. I think that in the light of time, I would like to move on to the last prototype and invite anyone who has questions to type them in the chat, and I'll redirect questions on this prototype to you, Salma, later on. Thank you so much. The last prototype is also on the product level by the India team, and let's move to the actually, it's been recorded on a video, and I just need to open this. Sorry for the confusion. Dum, dum, dum. I have it here. Okay. I'm sorry for this. It's always when things don't work out like you planned, it's always a little bit stressful, but I'll share it now. And this is Amitabh from the India team, who has prepared the video for us, and I would like to show it to you now.
Hey everyone, this is Amitabh from India. We had started our journey in the A2ii lab in early 2020. where we primarily wanted to understand few questions. One, why there is such a low penetration of insurance, especially amongst the people with low income. Second, what kind of products they would require to cover the risk they are exposed to. How would we be able to reach out to them and arrange a proper insurance solution? With the help of the lab team, we understood people of this segment are exposed to various risks and they require multiple insurance solutions instead of one. But they cannot afford multiple insurance. If a single product offering a multiple cover can be made available with an affordable price, they would be benefited and would surely like to buy that. With the help of the lab members who are insurance veterans from insurance companies, regulators and distributors, we designed a prototype and made a plan of distribution for the same. While some insurance companies showed their interest and offered the best solutions, one of the top insurance brokers has agreed to distribute the product. Making awareness was the first stepping stones to gain confidence of the rural mass who have limited understanding about the insurance requirement. Selecting right distribution partner with strong rural presence is one of the success factors to improve on the poor insurance penetration. As we might agree, this is a journey where untiring and continuous effort would be needed to achieve our desired milestones. I am thankful to all lab members from India and other 3 countries for their enthusiasm to support the cause and make insurance available as a means of financial protection. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amitabh, for recording that up front. I know that you're part of this call now, so if there's any question to Amitabh, you can ask the question now or type it in the chat box. I think it was really great that you recorded the video. Knowing that we're running out of time, it was the perfect thing to do. And there's questions, so let me just check. There's 2 questions to, or 3 questions to Morocco, and I'm thinking that they might overlap. Sama, would you agree to answer them in the chat box? That would be great. And Amitabh, I think you mentioned that this prototype is in the way of being, developed so that it can be brought to market. What do you think is a timeline that is realistic?
Actually, there are 2 parts to that prototype. First of all, that when we wanted to get a suitable product, we have seen that some insurance company already have some part of it, but not exactly the way we want. Some insurance companies have agreed to file it and give it to us. So obviously the second part, filing it to a regulator and giving it to us, takes time. So maybe this year we can expect sometime middle of this year we can expect that exact suitable exact thing that we wanted to do. Otherwise, the other part, where reaching the rural mass, at least with the few components of that product that already we are doing. So we are reaching out to rural people for some, like that our product has components like hospicash, personal accident, and then your some asset insurance. So we are already doing in rural mass. In some part of India, we are already selling some part of it. For example, some very small ticket size shop policies, very small ticket size personal accident policies. So that we are already practicing. Now we are just waiting for the exact combi product to come, and that few months more we need to wait for.
Thank you so much. I would like to propose to close this round on prototypes, and don't hesitate to continue typing your questions in the chat box. It won't be lost, and we'll make the answers available to you either right now in the chat or at a later point in time on our website. And with that, I would like to hand over to Manoj for the discussion that we reserved for the end. I guess that we will be cutting a little bit of the discussion, but I will let Manoj explain the next steps to you. Over to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Mariela. And indeed, so this part of the agenda for today has been kept in mind to have a discussion amongst the supervisors from the four country teams who were a part of the lab process, which came out with such innovative and amazing ideas. And we thought that it would be a great way to summarize the discussions today to get an input from the regulators who were part of this process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a question each to the regulators and ask them for their inputs. So the first question, and if I may pose this question to India first, just following on from Amitabh's great example. And I would invite Mr. A.V. Rao and Randeep Singh from A2ii-IAIS to please share with us how was your experience of being part of the A2ii Lab, going through the human-centered design process, and what would you say are some of your key takeaways and insights? So maybe I could invite Mr. Randeep first for your thoughts. Quite feebly, I can hear you, but it's a bit feeble.
Let me try once again. Is this slightly better?
Unfortunately not. Maybe
yes.
I'll ask Mr. Rao to go first, and then I can come back to you. Thank you. Mr. Rao, if I may ask you to step in and share from your perspective as a regulator the experience of being part of the lab, and what are your key takeaways and insights as a regulator from this lab process?
Thank you, Manoj. Is it audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So definitely this is a very great experience for us, because we never had such type of labs in the past. We never attended that. Mainly as a regulator, we are focusing on the consumer protection all these days, and making how to regulate the industry. But this lab has taken us to a different level. So to focus on what is the consumer requirements, what are the consumer requirements, and to what extent our products are meeting. So the total focus is on a different aspect, and we got the experience of other 4 countries. So other 3 countries. So we understood that more or less everybody is in the same social complex situation. People are expecting the same some similar type of products and awareness in the markets. So the key takeaways I can say, mainly the awareness requirements which we have noticed, and the requirement of the consumer in the form of a combi products are covering mainly the life, health, assets. So this type of combination people are requiring. This is what we noticed when we interacted with the public through our color tunes and through our other exercises. So I'll stop here, Manoj. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those insights. I was just quickly wondering to check with Mr. Randeep again if his audio is any better and ask for his takeaways from the process.
Yeah, better now?
I am so sorry, Mr. Randeep. It's slightly challenging. No worries. So unfortunately, in just keeping with the time constraints that we have, I'll quickly move from India and go on to Rwanda and put this question to Emmy from the Rwanda insurance regulators to get your perspective of the experience of being part of the lab and going through the human-centric design process and the key takeaways. Emmy, over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you, Manoj. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the A2ii for coming up with this initiative where we get time and opportunity to run more from inside, like we get opportunity to learn our own insurance sectors, see the challenges and what we can do to overcome them, but also learn from others. So throughout this lab process, myself and our team, we learned from others that insurance awareness is a problem almost everywhere. And we also noticed that there is a low penetration of insurance simply because some majority of people, especially low-income earners, are not included. So our key takeaway as a supervisor is now to put more efforts on the development side of supervision to make sure that everyone is included. For example, in our case, at the National Bank of Rwanda, which is a supervisory body of insurance, we have now established another wing of, in charge of development, of which Moise, my colleague, is part of. So they are now doing developmental things. They are trying to, educate people. They are trying to encourage innovation. They are trying, such a developmental just to include everyone, either insurance, banking, in different financial services. So one of the key takeaways we took from this lab is that as we are trying to supervise the sector prudentially, we also need to support the developmental projects in order to make sure that everyone is included in the insurance sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's very interesting to hear that, from both the regulators, we are seeing that, being able, the opportunity to be inside the process, learning from there, expanding the consumer protection perspectives to include awareness, and of course, being more customer centric, and then that information designing the solutions or the customer awareness program. And we're seeing that, that becoming something which is becoming an area of focus within the regulator. So that's great to see. So as I move on to the next two regulators, maybe I would just tweak the question and put a slightly different variation of this question to both of them. And maybe I can take this question to Selma first. If you could get to the next slide. So Selma, given the experience that you have had as part of the lab process, as a regulator and amongst, of course, your colleagues who are involved in this process, unfortunately, Mohammed can't be here to share his views as yet. How do you think that, you, after going through this lab process, having these tangible outcomes that you just shared a while ago, how can you take the spirit of innovation forward, especially to further boost inclusive insurance in your markets? Salma, over to you.
Thank you very much, Manoj. So to me, the lab was a unique experience, really, and it was the opportunity to gather multiple stakeholders around the same goal of developing inclusive insurance, and the fact of gathering those people is extremely important. And I think that what we learned is that it's important to maintain this dynamic of gathering multiple stakeholders around the table and discussing about ways to develop inclusive insurance. So I think that's one of our what we would encourage as a regulator is to put in place like a committee or a continuity of the lab to discuss about inclusive insurance and innovative solutions to develop inclusive insurance.
Thank you. Very insightful indeed. And we are glad that the lab experience has been able to bring this perspective of getting stakeholder discussions going as you as a regulator look to promote inclusive insurance in your market. I'll actually take this question to the regulators from Argentina, and maybe I can call upon Milena to share her perspective on how they in Argentina as a team are looking to take forward this spirit of innovation coming from the lab process to boosting inclusive insurance in the Argentinian market. Milena, over to you.
Hello, many thanks. Good morning from here, from Argentina. Well, as my team said, Analia and Belu, I am going to switch to Spanish. So thank you for the translation. Bueno, a ver, nuestro mayor desafío realmente es lograr, como bien dijeron Analia y Belén, que todos los ciudadanos argentinos, dada también la pobreza que existe en nuestro país, puedan acceder a servicios financieros. Y realmente creemos que el seguro es un vehículo clave para poder lograrlo, y es todo lo que gracias a Access y a Reos Partner en todo este gran trabajo pudimos ver a través de todo el lab. Desde la superintendencia, como reguladores, estamos convencidos de que debemos promover el acceso a la población y especialmente, en nuestro caso en particular, a las mujeres, a todos los servicios financieros a través de los seguros, por la importancia que tienen en la sociedad y, como digo, en el desarrollo económico. Bueno, para ser rápido, creemos que el trabajo en conjunto, tanto de las aseguradoras como con el sector público, es fundamental para lograr el desarrollo en el mercado local y estar abierto a la innovación y a la experiencia que nos toca hoy es realmente un gran desafío. Con lo cual, creemos fundamental generar conciencia aseguradora como herramienta para la inclusión financiera. Con el lanzamiento de la campaña Better with Insurance, Mejor con Seguros, se propone sensibilizar sobre la importancia de los seguros para la vida de las personas y será de una forma completamente innovadora, ya que se buscará interactuar con el público a través de las redes sociales. Esto a nosotros como supervisores, quizás para las compañías no, pero para nosotros esto es realmente nuevo e innovador. Por otro lado, buscamos expandir el mercado de seguros mediante la creación y adecuación de productos y servicios que respondan a las necesidades específicas, en este caso de las mujeres, desarrollar los canales de distribución adecuados en función de proporcionar de manera efectiva dichos productos y o servicios. Y además, proponemos impulsar capacitación y concientización sobre inclusión financiera y social y la comunicación de los nuevos productos y sus beneficios. Estamos realmente convencidos que este proyecto que nos encontramos liderando contribuirá a la construcción de un mercado asegurador más justo e inclusivo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Milena. That was most insightful. So if I could I know we are just running short of time, so I'll just quickly identify the 3 key takeaways from this discussion and, hearing from the 4 regulators on the 2 different versions of essentially the same question. So we see that, the regulators are identifying the need of customer awareness and keeping the customer as a focus whenever they are thinking about ways to improve access to insurance, especially for low-income segments and emerging markets, and boosting inclusive insurance. We see that, there are efforts and, systems being put in place to have channels of engagement to not only educate and make aware the customers about inclusive insurance, perspectives around it, especially on consumer protection as much as awareness, and also the fact that listening to the customer and understanding what their needs are, and that would hopefully be a part of the regulatory process going forward. And last but not the least, also coming together of stakeholders and imbibing that as an idea of identifying all the stakeholders within the jurisdictions from the country itself, putting them together, identifying the ways in which such synergies can be leveraged to access better access to insurance for emerging markets. And that is wonderful to hear, and those are some great takeaways. It's a pity we don't have more time to divulge further, but I'm sure we'll find another platform. Till then, thank you for your inputs again, and I'll hand it over back to Mariela.
Thank you, Manoj. And let us go to the next slide, please. So this is another slide where we were supposed to have a video incorporated. So there is a lab video on the second Inclusive Insurance Innovation Lab that's available on our webpage. We will post the link in the chat box as well. So if you would like, here it is. If you would like to see more of it, this is an 8-minute video that also talks about the lab results, and we will compile a final report that is currently in the making that will be made available on the webpage as well. While we still, have this slide open, could we also open the final poll, please? So my colleague Teresa just posted the YouTube link to the video if you would like to check it out. And before we close, it would be great if you could just quickly answer the short poll that will open up soon. And if you are, if you want to be connected to anyone on this call or in any one of the lab teams, don't hesitate to contact us. It is with great pleasure that we set up the connections and provide space for exchange. So we will, this is not the last event of this sort. We are really looking forward to creating an ecosystem where people can connect on the issue of innovation in inclusive insurance with the 3 lab cohorts that we almost have now. We have a great community already, and we are keen also to include anyone who's interested in exchanging with us in the future going forward. So with this, I would like to thank you all very much for your time, and thank you for your patience with us today. It was a real technology challenge today, which sometimes hits us when we don't expect it. So thank you very much for bearing with us and listening to all of the teams. And thanks to all of the teams for your inputs. It was great to have you on this call today, and I think this was the public dialogue with the highest number of speakers that we ever had. So thank you for your support here and making it happen, and have a great day, everyone.